tee times for Thursday's first round of the Open Championship at Royal Portrush. Tiger Woods getting started at 10:10 a.m. Eastern Time. The three-time Open champ's going to be playing with Patrick Reed and Matt Wallace. Rory Mcilroy is the favorite. He'll go off at 5:09 a.m. Eastern with Paul Casey and U.S. Open champion Gary Woodland. Hey there, and thank you for being part of Team Stream. I'm Chris Hassel. This is CBS Sports HQ. It is Open Championship week, and it's also time to start thinking about college football. SEC Media Days kicking off in Hoover, Alabama. Now, the Open returning to Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland for the first time since 1951. Tiger Woods going to try to bookend the season by adding an Open to his Masters title. It's been 13 years since his last multiple major season. And even though he didn't arrive over in Northern Ireland until yesterday, he's been preparing for this for about a week. This is what he posted a week ago.
It's Tiger. Wake up! It is now 1 a.m. here on the East Coast. Why am I doing this right now? Because it is now 6 a.m. at Royal Portrush. I'll be playing the Open Championship there. In order to be prepared for the time chase, I'm getting up. If you want to succeed, if you want to get better, if you want to win, you want to accomplish your goals, well, it starts with getting up early in the morning. Have a great day.
And you're going to have to get up early if you want to see some of the players tee off. Tiger Woods with a friendly tee time on Thursday, but on Friday he tees off much earlier in the morning. It's a par 71 there at Royal Portrush. They've added about 500 yards since the 1951 Open Championship. There are 15 past champions in the field, including Tiger Woods this week. Let's bring in Chip Patterson from the First Cut podcast to help us preview the Open Championship. Chip, what do you know about this course? I don't know a darn thing. All I know is that Rory Mcilroy played there as a kid. He set the course record back in the day at 16 years old. What is this course going to play like?
Well, number one, it's a link-style golf, and number two, we don't know a lot. And that's where if you're trying to work on your prognostication, if you're trying to figure out what your expert pick is, who you're going to get in daily fantasy, or who maybe you want to pick in your pool, I don't think that you need any course history to start to identify some of the players who have played well at the Open Championship in the past, because there are the conditions that are unlike what they have in the normal PGA Tour run at this time. And then there is just sort of the style of golf course. And, you know, you compare it to what we saw at John Deere. John Deere is a point-and-shoot birdie fest. That is not going to be the case. You're going to have the kind of runoffs that you see at every Open Championship. And again, I like this idea that we don't have much course history to factor in. You don't have this at Troon or Muirfield or St. Andrews, and it spices things up a bit.
It seems like this thing is open as well. Rory Mcilroy is the favorite, and that's pretty obvious because he grew up there. He's accustomed to the weather situations. The golf course shot a 61 when he was 16 years old. But outside of Rory, it seems like it's kind of a crapshoot.
A little bit, but there are those players that I like to be within a tier and be within the mix. Because remember, Chris, it was just a year ago where on Thursday and Friday you're looking at Tiger Woods and you're thinking, I don't know how he's performing around here. And then all of a sudden you look up on Sunday and Tiger Woods is in the mix for the lead at the Open Championship playing alongside Francesco Molinari. Grinding through the weekend, maintaining mental toughness, and being able to just outlast so many of the other competitors in this championship, I think that's what makes it wide open, because there is a little bit of a leveling in terms of your style of play that happens when you look out at an Open Championship. And so I think that's why we've seen, you know, the average age of the winners is higher at the Open Championship, and it does look like a much wider group where anyone from Darren Clarke to Zach Johnson to a Francesco Molinari, really anyone in the field can go win this thing.
Molinari's sitting there about 20-1, pretty much the same odds as Tiger Woods to win the championship this week. What are your expectations for Frankie?
I think that he needs to get back on track, because basically ever since the Masters, I worried for him as though he had everything going at the end of the season. He won the Open Championship. He was, you know, absolutely stellar in the Ryder Cup. I mean, just knockout good in the Ryder Cup. goes into the Masters. It looks on Saturday like Francesco Molinari might be able to go and win the Masters and add to this incredible run of golf. And then since then, we've seen him fade back a little bit. I expect Francesco Molinari to make it to the weekend. I would not be shocked at all if Francesco Molinari is a top 10 or top 20 player. But I honestly, based on what we've seen from Molinari since the Masters, would be stunned if he does rally back to win this thing. And I think it would say a lot about a golfer who's had a late in his career surge here in the last year or two.
On Thursday, he'll go off at 5 a.m. with Bryson DeChambeau and Adam Scott. Phil Mickelson packed a little lighter on his flight over, and it didn't have anything to do with his luggage or his clubs. Take a look at what he posted just over the weekend about what he's been doing the last few weeks.
Hey everyone, let's get real for a few minutes. I haven't posted anything because I haven't felt good about myself and the way I've been playing, and so I haven't done anything or wanted to be in public. The last 10 days I've done what I call a hard reset, to change and try to make things better. I have lost 15 pounds. I've done a 6-day fast with water and a special coffee blend for wellness that I've been working on with Dave Phillips, and went on a bit of a retreat. I'm here in Ireland now, a beautiful place, getting ready for the British Open. I don't know if it's going to help me play better or not, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to try to get my best back.
Water and a special coffee blend. It is a hard reset. Will it pay off for Phil, Chip?
I don't think so. Phil Mickelson, and first of all, I'm going to say that Phil Mickelson should not be considered totally trustworthy about the specifics of this. This is a man who said he found loopholes in the USGA rule as he's running and putting moving balls. I bet he found loopholes in the rules of fasting. So I'm just going to say that, but I'm happy that he seems to be getting his form together. And I totally understand. We've been there when your game is not responding the way you want, and it certainly has not been for Phil Mickelson. Sometimes anything that's just going to shock the brain and shock the body, that's going to be able to help you turn things around. He knows that he does not have many major championships left where he's going to have a shot to win. And as we see by 100 to 1, I mean, Chris, we've seen these odds boards for every single major championship. This is about as low as I've seen Mickelson, and I think it reflects what we've seen from him this year. Ever since, look, he won the AT&T Pro-Am at February in Pebble, but he has not been great since, and he definitely has not been great at major championships.
Down to number 28 in the official world golf ranking. He did win the Open Championship back in 2013 at Muirfield. He's going off at 2:52 a.m. on Thursday, by the way. Now let's get to Tiger. It's going to be his first time playing an event since the U.S. Open a month ago. Now, that did not bode well at all for him when he sat out between the Masters and the PGA Championship. He missed the cut at the PGA. How do you think it's going to turn out for him this time around?
I think that he's going to contend at least, to be within the top 10. I think he's going to be within 5 or 6 strokes of the winner, but I'm not looking at Tiger Woods necessarily as the one person that I want to saddle up with as my pick to win. I think that he's looking at his 2019 season, at least the remainder of it, knowing that having put the green jacket on in Augusta, whatever that drive was, that hunger, that mental insatiability that can help a 43-year-old power through some physical discomfort in order to win. Like, Chris, that's been satiated. And I think Tiger Woods still wants to play great golf, and I think he still wants to win major championships and chase Jack Nicklaus. But when it comes down to it, if things aren't going right, I see Tiger Woods as someone who's going to be able to maintain, and like we said at the beginning, Open championships produce older winners because it is as much of a mental grind as it is a physical grind. And Tiger Woods mentally at Open championships as a 3-time winner, I think he's better than almost anyone in the field at that.
18 to 1. He'll go off at 10:10 a.m. Eastern time on Thursday. Patrick Reed and Matt Wallace grouped with Tiger. Going now to Rory Mcilroy, the favorite. He's going to have a lot of pressure this week in his native Northern Ireland. Set the course record of 61 at the age of 16. That's kind of how he introduced himself to the world of golf. He's been perhaps the most consistent great golfer this season, but I know you don't like him to necessarily win this thing, but you got to like him to compete, do you not?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Rory Mcilroy has been one of the most consistent competitors in major championships in the last 10 years. I mean, across the last 40 majors, about half of them have had Rory Mcilroy in the top 10. So Top 10 to me is a floor for Rory McIlroy. The ceiling would be his second Open Championship and his fifth major championship. There is going to be a ton of pressure, and him being able to handle that pressure is going to be absolutely key if he's going to have a shot to win. And Chris, my big question for Rory McIlroy is, would this season be complete without a major championship win? Because with all of his top 10s, with his Players' Championship win, with the victory at the Canadian Open, he has had one of those Player of the Year type seasons. But Rory, hey, I would ask you, do you feel like this season was complete and a success without a major championship win? He has said he is at that point in his career where he's just looking to win majors and he's trying to get his game in position to compete and win major championships. And, with this one being the last one of the season, it's all or bust for him right here.
We've been talking with, for First Cut Podcast, Chip Patterson. We now welcome in the fashionably late Kyle Porter. I know it wasn't Kyle's fault. Little audio issue we had with him. Kyle, though, I want to get your thoughts on Rory McIlroy because you're going a step further than Chip. Chip says top 10 is the floor, but he's not necessarily picking Rory as his champ. You are. Tell us why.
Yeah, I am. I just think it's an opportunity for it to come full circle for Rory. He goes out, sets the course record at Portrush at the age of 16, shoots a 61 there. We're 14 years later. He is, I think, has been the best player in the world for 2019. Look, I mean, he's approaching this strokes gained number that I holler about all the time on the PGA Tour of 3, and he's at like 2.7 right now. 3 is a number that only Tiger has really been at over the last 10 or 15 years. And, at Open Championships, he's got, Chip was talking about this, but he's got the most top 10s in the last 5 Open Championships. He's got 4 top 10s. The next closest, the only other guy with 3 is Jordan Spieth. So he's been awesome at Opens. He's been awesome this season. And to me, it's almost, I know everybody's going to pick him, but it's almost too good to be true for him to win an Open Championship at Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland to get to number 5.
Goes off at 5:09 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday with U.S. Open champion Gary Woodland and Paul Casey. How about Brooks Koepka? We're saving maybe the best for last year. He carries a streak of 4 straight top 2 finishes in majors. It would be 6 straight if not for his 39th place finish at the Open last season. He goes off just after 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday. Kyle, I'll start with you on Brooks.
Yeah, I mean, not only the last 4, but 6 of the last 9, he's finished in the top 2. 6 of the last 9 major championships, he's finished in the top 2. That is a crazy number. And if you go beyond Carnoustie last year, he's got 2 top 10s at the Open leading up to that. So, last year was not great. It's been his worst major in the last couple of years, but he does have a pretty good history at Open Championships. My thing with Brooks is he's such a high ball hitter, and if the wind blows, if it howls a little bit, if there's some weather going on, can he flight it in some different ways to kind of get under the wind, to kind of keep it from being battered off that Atlantic Ocean. So I mean, it's a very detailed kind of nuanced thing. The wind might not even blow, but that's where we're at with Koepka. It's going to take weather or something from Mother Nature to kind of knock him off course. I would expect him to contend again, and maybe another top 2. 7 out of 10 would be pretty incredible.
Yeah, I would be absolutely stunned if Brooks Koepka is not in the top 10. I would be absolutely stunned if there isn't a place on Saturday or Sunday where he might have a chance if he can put together a little birdie run to be able to make a run at winning this thing. But I just think that when we look at him, especially from the fantasy or the pool play, it's just such a high dollar amount. And if I'm having to choose between an alpha dog, if I'm having to choose between, a big hitter who's got all the shots, if it's him or Rory, I've mentioned earlier, I'm not picking Rory McIlroy to win, but if you give me a head-to-head of Brooks Koepka and Rory McIlroy, I'm going right there with McIlroy. Brooks Koepka's great. He's one of the best golfers in the world. He should contend. I do not having good feelings about him this week at Royal Portrush, though.
All right, Chip Patterson and Kyle Porter, hang tight. We're going to be going back to you in just a little bit as we get some sleeper picks from our First Cut podcast crew. Rory McIlroy is not a sleeper, but one of these guys likes Rory to win this week. Tiger wouldn't necessarily be a sleeper either, but what about somebody like Matt Wallace? These are the odds to win the Open Championship this week. Rory McIlroy, 8-1, according to the Westgate Superbook. And then you have a couple of guys, Brooks Koepka and Dustin Johnson, who've been up around number 1 in the world for quite some time. Tiger Woods is 18-1. Phil Mickelson, by the way, just a little sub note, 100-1 to win this thing. Let's get some expert picks from our experts from the First Cut podcast, Kyle Porter and Chip Patterson. Let's begin with a sleeper. Kyle, who do you like as a sleeper to kind of creep up on us and contend this week?
Well, I love Matt Kuchar. I warned Chip about this on our podcast today. I'm warning everybody. Matt Kuchar might win the 2019 Open Championship at Portrush. You know, he's having the best season of his career, and this is somebody who he's played really well at Opens in the past. You know, he's got 2 top 10s in his last 5 Opens. Obviously finished kind of infamously second to Jordan Spieth back in 2017, but he's playing really good golf. Contended at the Scottish Open last week, which I love. There's a lot of converging things coming into Portrush this week, and I think that when you play an Open Championship, that you play it on the ground more than you do through the air. It brings somebody who doesn't hit it a long way kind of into play more than, say, a Bethpage Black or a Shinnecock or somewhere like that, where you see these big bombers really in contention. So if Matt Kuchar wins a major, I do think it will be an Open, and this is another great shot for him this week.
From a sleeper with a long major history, I'm going to go on the way other side of the spectrum. I'm taking a sleeper who is just getting going with his major championship. Give me Matt Wallace. He is one of the European Tour's top talents right now. And when he has been playing on the PGA Tour, he's been great. He was 3rd place finish at the PGA Championship, 6th place finish at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, and he finished tied for 12th at the U.S. Open. Wallace's trajectory has been going up. He has gotten up to number 25 in the world. And when we're trying to look for players who have some value, I think Matt Wallace is one of those guys where would he win this championship? It would be news to a lot of players who follow or not of fans who follow the PGA Tour players, not as much the European Tour players. But everybody on the European Tour would say, yeah, that 29-year-old is a rising star. And so I'm going to try to jump on that and get Matt Wallace now. And
really good value at 50-1 right now from the Westgate Las Vegas. All right, those are some sleepers. How about your winner, Kyle Porter?
Well, it's very cliche. He is, I think, the best player in the world. He's the favorite at this event. He's the home country kid. I've got Rory Mcilroy winning. I'm falling into the trap. I really am, and I'm going to regret this on Friday when he's 3 over through 30 holes of this tournament. But it's almost too good to be true for him to go from, like I said, the 16-year-old that sets the course record at Portrush with a 61, and just kind of follow that arc of his career all the way till now. And look, like we talk all the time about how the last 5 years have been disappointing for Rory because he doesn't have a major. Guess what? A major here, to win his 5th at the age of 30 at Portrush of all places, would erase that last 5 years, and suddenly we'd be again talking about him as one of the all-time greats. So again, I'm falling into this trap. It's probably not going to happen, but it would be a pretty cool and storybook ending for Rory.
Give me Jon Rahm. I mean, where do I need to start with Jon Rahm? Number one, as we always say, he's got all the shots. He loves links golf. He was recently the winner at the Irish Open after dropping a 62 with 2 bogeys on Sunday. He can play all different types of conditions. He can play all different types of courses. But the reason why I'm picking Rahm and the reason why I feel comfortable is I truly believe that the work he has put in on the mental side of golf and the mental side of major championship golf has really made him be able to improve from a time where he carried the reputation as a hothead. And we saw time and time again, all of this talent was held back because mistakes would compound on mistakes. And as he has improved in that side of it, I think that has made him ready. He's only 24. We're going to see Jon Rahm in majors for a long time, and I think his breakthrough is going to be right here at Royal Portrush.
2 top 10s in majors already this season for Jon Rahm. I want to pop up the odds to win this thing one more time and get a couple more thoughts from you guys. Jon Rahm with the 4th best odds to win it right now. Obviously, Rory's the favorite. You're never going to get great value on Tiger Woods. You don't see Phil Mickelson because he's 100-1. Just take a gander at the board here. Does anything stick out to either one of you when you look at the top 12 as far as odds go?
I like Justin Thomas at 25-1. I think Justin Thomas has been overlooked because he was really, really good early in the season, and then he missed some time with a wrist injury, and it's taken him a little bit of time. He hasn't played as busy of a schedule, but I look back at how his form was at the Scottish Open this past weekend, and that's another player where the way his game is, I think, translates to so many different types of courses and different types of conditions that Justin Thomas at 25-1, right there in that second tier, I think could be a great option of a player that we see not only compete in this thing, but go and win it.
I love Xander at 20-1. You know, he's somebody who last year at Carnoustie, he was in it on Sunday, kind of was flirting with the lead. I think he co-held the lead at one point with Molinari or with Rory or somebody late in that Sunday afternoon. He's been awesome at major championships over the last few years. And, you know, I think the interesting thing with him is, like, he's sort of been a rich man's Kuchar in that he's, like, always in the top 10. But not only is he in the top 10, he's in kind of the top 5. He finishes T2 at Augusta, plays well at the U.S. Open. He's always right there. But what I haven't seen is I haven't seen him sleep on a 54-hole lead. I haven't seen him go into a Sunday at a major with everything to lose. He's just kind of been hanging around, and maybe it breaks his way at some point. But to me, 20-1 is way too high for somebody who has that many top 10s over the last few years at major championships.
All right, Kyle Porter, Chip Patterson, thank you so much. First Cut podcast is up, which you can download right now ahead of the Open Championship. Fellas, thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to the final major of the season this week. Recapping the expert picks from these guys. Kyle likes Rory to win it. Chip likes Jon Rahm to win it. And some sleepers. Kyle, Matt Kuchar at 30-1. And Chip with Matt Wallace at 50-1. Checking out the Sportsline leaderboard. We're going to give you 4 here. 4 players out of the top 10. Justin Rose at 20-1. This is, again, a projected leaderboard from Sportsline, and you can get the full leaderboard on sportsline.com. John Deere Classic wrapping up yesterday in Silvis, Illinois. This tournament known for its many first-time winners. Jordan Spieth was a first-time winner here at the age of 19, and this is his college roommate doing the same thing yesterday. Dylan Fratelli, part of Texas's national championship team with Jordan Spieth in 2012, made a big putt to clinch that. Won by 2 strokes over a bunch of Americans, including Russell Henley, who fired a 10-under 61 on Sunday to nearly come from way back and get into a playoff. But Fratelli is your winner by 2 strokes. He was consistent all week. Perfect Finish presented by Amstel Light. And it was really more about the start for the winner of the John Deere Classic on Sunday. You birdie the first 3 holes, you're going to have a good chance to win it from one of the last groups out there. And Dylan Fratelli did just that. The first-time winner on tour, birdieing his first 3 holes and punching the last ticket to the Open Championship. His worst round was a 3-under 68. And then on the weekend, went real low, 13 under on Saturday and Sunday. Did win a couple of times on the Euro Tour, but this is his first PGA Tour victory. He's on to the Open Championship, where he missed the cut in his 2 other appearances in 2016 and 2017.